Hope you're all well. Welcome to my channel. If you've not been here before, it's where I talk about twin flame process, twin flame consciousness. So this video today is just going to be to explain what twin flame process is really all about. And I've got some cards here, but I don't know if I'm going to pull them. I have to see how long we're here for and how long it takes to explain everything. So this video is really for anybody who's still experiencing a lot of fear and worry and stress about what they're going through in relation to what they think twin flame is. So there is a misunderstanding out there that twin flame is all about another person, and that it's the focus on the other person being the twin flame that is the primary goal. So it's being with that person is the primary goal, and that's what twin flame is kind of seen as. Whereas really, twin flame is an energetic experience. So, and how that shows up in the physical world, first of all, if you can understand that you are primarily vibration, so you're primarily an energetic being, i.e. you are an energetic being when you're alive and also when you cease to be alive. So you're the same thing when you're, people think, when we die, we change. So we're physical when we're alive, and then when we die, we're something completely different. But actually, you're the same thing when you're alive as when you're dead. It's just that you also, when you're alive, appear to have a physical body. So that's the first thing to understand, that you're always vibrational. So what you're experiencing in your physical existence is a very, if you're only viewing it as the physical experience, you're viewing it from a very limited understanding. So you have to really open your mind up to understand the experience of vibration inside a physical body or outside a physical body, or as part of the physical experience, I should probably say, because that's really where you get the understanding from, a more clarified understanding of what you're going through and why you're going through it and what it's all about can only be understood from that perspective and not from the human perspective. So you might have heard me talk about in a lot of these videos previously about the split between thought consciousness, which is egoic consciousness, and higher consciousness, which is light and love and happiness. So as we come into the human experience and we take on the perception of the ego, which means that we start to use the function of thinking, which is what we don't do when we're pure consciousness. When we're just released from the physical experience, we no longer think. But as we come into the human experience and we are using the thinking function, this thinking function is egoic. Okay, so that's what the ego is. It's thinking, and in this human experience that you're having, the thinking part of you, the ego, thinks it knows everything. And what it doesn't know, or what it could say to itself that it is not sure of, it worries about. So it's either thinking it knows everything and it has it all sorted out, or it's worrying about what it doesn't know. So it's the egoic part of yourself is what we call the fear part of yourself. So what really needs to be understood as well is that is so, it's really important to know that that's what it is, okay? So a lot of people, well, everybody that goes through twin flame process is going to spend a lot of time thinking and worrying about the experience itself. And because a lot of people that go through it, if they don't understand it's an energetic experience, or if they're not focusing energetically, what they are focusing on is the other person outside of themselves who they believe to be their twin. I say believe to be because it doesn't really matter whether it's a twin or not. What matters is that you're focusing on someone outside of yourself being the cause and the reason and the focus. And what they do when they focus on that person is they are in their head and they're thinking and they're worrying. And if they're not thinking and worrying about that person, they're thinking and worrying about themselves in relation to that person and all things in between and even more. So if you can just understand that when you are thinking, you're probably worrying, right? Because that's what the brain primarily wants to do, is to find things to worry about, it's to look at everything negatively, and it is to then wind itself up into even more and more tight knots of fear and worry. And if you want to know what fear is worry, right? That's all it is. It's not even, fear is not a horror film where you're like, gripping the arms of the seat and in absolute terror. Fear is worry. So it's whenever you're thinking and worrying, is you're in fear. So that's also really important to understand, because that's what the brain, that is a human part, that's nearer to the human part of us and further away from the higher conscious part of us, wants to generally do, because that's what the ego does, right? So it causes you pain. It causes you a lot of pain. It causes you pain in your brain. It causes you pain with the worry. And it also causes you pain in your emotions, because when you're worrying, you're not feeling good. And it's as simple as that. If you're worrying, you're not feeling good, right? So how do you know if you're feeling good, right? Feeling good is your primary location for the energetic experience of bringing yourself everything that's in your vibration that is a desire that you've put there. So your feeling good is your point of attraction. And when you're feeling good, what you'll want to do is anything that makes you feel good. So for example, when I'm feeling good, I really, all I want to do is put on some disco music and dance, or I want to put my game on and play my game, my video game, stuff like that. I don't want to do anything that's would be considered work, or would take up any thinking time. I just want to be free, and I want to dance, and I want to sing, and pull stupid faces at myself in the mirror and act like a child. So when you're feeling good, how to know you're feeling good is when you feel like doing whatever it is that makes you feel best. And these things are free, right? It's free things. It's not like I don't feel the need to, when I feel really good, I don't feel the need to do anything that involves spending any money or going out the house or anything. Okay, so just trying to get everybody to see that feeling good is free, right? It doesn't cost a penny to feel good. When I feel really good, I don't need anything. I'm all right, Jack, right? I'm absolutely fine. I'm just feeling like this is great, being here, being alive, and I don't need anything. So feeling good is free. Okay, so where we're at in explaining this process. So what twin flame process is everything that is not about the other person, basically. That person outside of yourself that you're pinning all your hopes on, or that you think is a dream come true, is only a representation of your consciousness, right? So that person will show up at a level of wherever your consciousness is at, and they'll show up and they'll act out from that level of consciousness. So if you're in a fearful and worrying state, they will act out from that state. So they will bring you more fear and worry. And why that happens, why is it a person outside of yourself that brings you the experience of more fear and worry, is because what twin flame process is the process of moving from the egoic experience of fear and worry to the higher consciousness experience of freedom and light and love. And light being enlightenment and lightness of mind, and freedom being free from worrying, fearful imaginings and thinkings, and free from negative emotions, and free to do whatever it is that makes you feel good in the present moment, that is free. Free is freedom, right? So that's the first thing that's one of the things to understand as well, that person is always going to be a representation of where you are at in consciousness. That's what twin flame is as well. So, and what else do we want to say about it? So there is a misconception, right, as well. This is what I'm dealing with. A lot of people at the moment are coming to me. So obviously I need to speak about it generally, because when that happens, it's because it's mass consciousness that needs to be redirected. Focus needs to be redirected, basically. So um, when you first enter into this experience with somebody outside of yourself being a representation of your level of consciousness, what it's asking of you, once you realize it's twin flame. So how are you going to realize it's twin flame experience is partly that, but also it's the feeling that they are the one. And that means it's kind of like everything else recedes and they become primarily your focus, primarily important, your goal, you could say, your goal in the physical world to be with them, right? So that is something that you will experience, yes, because you're having a physical experience. And your physical experience is the representation of the vibrational experience, right? So where you've got a vibration that's shared by two people, which is what twin flame always is and is as well, right? It is the vibration trying to bring those two people back together because the vibration wants to come back together. It's not a split vibration, but it's a vibration at a distance. So you've got two people that are sharing the same, you could say the same bandwidth, the same frequency, just like two stations of a radio, and that are, you could be trying to, visualize yourself trying to tune them in, like twiddling the knobs on the radio, trying to get these two radio channels on the radio working at the same time. So the frequency itself, the vibration, is always trying to bring these two people back together. So that is why you see that person physically as your goal, right? Wanting to be with that person. That's my goal. However, it's the vibration that's trying to come back together, really, because everything is vibrational always, right? And the vibration has been set at a distance so that you can clear whatever it is that stands between you and the level of consciousness that is a purified and clarified vibration. So actually what it is that you're trying to come back together with is not the physical person. It is a level of consciousness. It's higher consciousness. It's source energy, right? So if you can really take on that understanding that what you're experiencing and your physical experience of it and this goal of wanting to be with that person may seem very, very real, and that, the issue of the twin flame journey won't be solved until you come back together with that person. A more clarified understanding is that it is a level of being inside your physical experience, inside yourself, that is a rising consciousness. That's where you're really trying to get to. So, and then just to say as well, what else we need to say? We need to say that everybody's, there's an understanding out there that twin flames are connected. And in the way that people talk about that connection, they talk about it as, again, in a very kind of physical, human understanding way. So they talk about it being about, romantic love and true love and the feelings for each other that are different than anybody else's experienced. And they talk about the difficulty of that and, or the pain of that and that kind of stuff. Some people talk about telepathy, and there is telepathy between twins, but they focus on that as being a kind of a reason for it, and a reason for the experience itself, and that being the spiritual experience. But that isn't the reason for the spiritual experience of the twin flame experience. That's just a symptom of the experience. Nor is the romantic aspect and the longing for that person the reason for the experience. It's just a symptom of the experience, right? So there is so much more that is functional in terms of the feeling, and there is so much more that is truth about the connection through the mind than it just being a telepathic experience. So when you've got these, the person I'm talking to right now is the feminine creator. So I've said a lot of this before, but I have to just say it again. So you have two people. They're called twin flames, or that's what people refer to them as. And what it really is an elongated vibration. So it's two vibrations, a connected vibration, but at a distance, shared by two people, right? It's the same frequency. And as we said, you have egoic consciousness, thought consciousness with dark energy and it's masculine, and you have higher consciousness, which is light and love and happiness consciousness, source consciousness, feminine consciousness. And you have these two aspects vibrationally that bring everything into existence in the physical realm. You have only source consciousness, higher consciousness, once you exit your physical experience. And you only have egoic consciousness once you enter the physical experience. As you have the physical experience, you have both levels of consciousness attainable from within you. So you could be highly egoic, which is where you would be worrying a lot, fearing a lot, stressing a lot, sad a lot, angry a lot. Or you could be in a more higher consciousness, either some of the time or all of the time or most of the time. And that is where you're feeling free and happy and feeling good. And again, just to clarify, that feeling is not because of anything. So it's not because of anything, and particularly not because of another person making you feel good or making you feel happy, or feeling good or feeling happy because you're with another person. It's a liberation, all right? So it's feeling good despite nothing being around, like being stood in the middle of a desert, nothing around for miles and miles and miles, not being able to see a thing, and feeling intense happiness and joy and just wonderful, right? So you've got these two aspects inside yourself, the masculine and the feminine energy. And the person that you're viewing as a twin flame, they've got them inside them as well. And at all times, you're going through a rebalancing process internally of coming out of the egoic thought consciousness and the primarily fear consciousness, because that's what it is in the brain, in the mind. And you're coming into higher energy inside yourself, the feminine consciousness, the lightness, the happiness. You are the way it's connected between the two of you is that you, the masculine energy is the fear consciousness, right? And one of the twins, the one that's further apart, the one that's away from you, is going to be operating from that form of consciousness primarily. So they're here to clear that, but because they're not creator energy, they can't clear it themselves. So they pass to you fear, and you clear it as a feminine creator. So it's the feminine's job to come into the higher consciousness first as the creator of the vibration, right? The creator of the higher consciousness vibration that you are here to create. So that's how you're connected through the mind. So it's not really, like I say, telepathy is just a symptom of it. What it really is how they think, the way they think, not what they think, because you'll both think about different things a lot of the time, but the way they think, if they're in fear, is the way that you will be in fear. Right, so recognize inside yourself that when you're in fear and you're in worry and you're in egoic consciousness, you're operating from the masculine side of yourself. So you're operating as the person that you're separate from, right? And your job, your function with that is for you to release that programming, that mental programming. So that means that you stand apart from that inside yourself, right? You stand apart from it inside yourself and you view it as such, right? So instead of just being in the fear and worry and churning the thoughts around and churning around the worry, and in that, a lot of the time, what you notice with people at the beginning of the process is that they're churning around the object of their obsession, which is the person outside of themselves in their head and everything to do with that person. They're churning all that around. So what you need to understand about that is that that's for you to clear, right? So you detach from that. So you just observe yourself and the fear that's inside of you, and you stand apart from it. So that's why it's really important to recognize what fear is and that it's worry, because then you can say to yourself, I'm worrying. Okay, I'm in fear. I'm operating from the masculine perspective. So I'm clearing this. So how do I clear this then? Well, the opposite is finding the frequency of happiness and love in the present moment by doing anything that can bring you happiness and love in the present moment. Twin flame, right? So now we're going to get into the subject of physical separation. So what happens is people go into physical separation on this journey, and when they go into physical separation, they might have heard the words twin flame or understand that as twin flame because they know this person is the one, right? But because they're having a physical experience, a human experience, they believe the answer to that obsession with this person outside of themselves that is the one, that is their twin flame, is to get that person back as soon as possible. And it becomes their goal. So it's like you're at the base of a mountain and there's a person on the top, and you have to get to that person and you have to bring them back to you in a physical way, right? So they do everything they can in a physical way to get that person back. But as we said already, the matter at hand is not really the physical people separated. It's the frequency that wants to come back together, right? So it is an energetic coming back together and not a physical coming back together that matters. No matter how much you might feel obsessed about getting that person back and clambering up that hill and getting covered in cuts and bruises and dirt under your fingernails to get that person back, every time you try and do that in a physical sense, you will just have to let go at some point because you're not going to get there that way. And in a sense, you will drop back down. And that is the letting go that you have to do repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. So what you have to let go of is that physical person, right? In part. So, but that's only part of it because, like we say, it's not just about a physical person. It's about the frequency. So if you can understand that you have to let go of that person, that's fine. But where a lot of people lose their understanding is they let go of that. The separation will occur, right? The physical separation will occur, whether you want it to occur or not, it's going to occur. So, and as soon as they go into physical separation, the feminine creator just decides, I need that person back. And I need that person in my life, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that person in my life. But in that, you see, that's coming from egoic consciousness, and there is all fear and worry in that, and just stress. Because whenever you try to get that person back physically, all you're going to do is end up tumbling back down the hill again and having to let go of them. Because it's not until the frequency states it's ready to come back together that you can come back together physically. So again, you have to refer back to this is an energetic experience, not a physical experience. And therefore, and then from there, then you look at the other things, right? You look at the mind and you look at the emotions, because people go into this separation and they think, then I'm going to get this back in the physical. What they don't understand is, because we talk about letting go, right? What they don't understand is what the letting go is. The letting go is in the mind, right? So it's letting go of fear and worry, and it's letting go in the emotions. So it's, and what that is, what can you let go of in the emotions that is not your point of attraction, is feeling bad. So your process, your twin flame process, is about letting go of fear and worry, and it's in any sense. So about that person, right, that you view as your twin flame. It's about them, but also it's about what they bring to you, for you to also disintegrate the programming. So it's going to be a lot of fear and worry that you're asked to just release from yourself. And how you release it, as I said, is you come into an observable place with it. So you start to observe it inside yourself, and that there you recognize it. And when you recognize it, there you have choice point in whether you're going to let go or not. That's where you might have free will in the process, because it is a choice whether you're going to let go of fear or not, right? And how do you, the emotions, right? How do you, the let go in the emotions? Well, letting go in emotion, on an emotional way, is letting go of anything that isn't feeling good. And as you do that, they do that. So you create, the feminine creates the experience of the masculine outside of self, right? So where you're being asked to look at your level of consciousness in terms of, are you fearing, are you worrying, are you feeling bad? Because all of that is lower consciousness. And you're being asked to come into higher consciousness, which is, it is also going to be then represented in the person outside of yourself. And that's what twin flame is the fact that you share a frequency. So when your vibration changes from lower consciousness to higher consciousness, so does theirs, because you're connected through the mind and the emotions and the frequency, right? So it's not about going into separation and trying to get them back physically. It's about being in separation and letting go of the fear and the worry and finding feeling good, because then it's going to be the same for them as it is for you, because you're shared vibrationally. So that's what the process is, right? That's why we have the fleur-de-lis, right? Because it is you've got this like, let's just do it with the cards because it's all I've got. It looks like the cross, actually. You could say it looks like the cross. Because it's the four things, right? It's the mind, emotion, frequency, physicality. Just check this is still running. And you've got them all at a distance, but they're all connected. And we take this person, right, that's outside of yourself, that is the physicality of it, and just put that up there, right, like they're on the hill. And then you take here the mind and the emotions, right? And there you've got fleur-de-lis, or the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, however you want to refer to it. There's fleur-de-lis on these cards, actually. Fleur-de-lis at the top. And it's like the Holy Trinity, basically. So this person up here, this physical person, you can, they're manifest, right? They're in physical form, but really what they are is a representation of source energy. So where you're trying to climb this hill to get back to them in the physical and get them back in the physical, what really vibrationally is happening is your vibration is trying to find higher consciousness and get back to higher consciousness, because this person, the vibration at a distance is exactly the same thing as when you enter into a physical body and you're separated from source consciousness and you lose all sense of being connected to source, right? And you believe that we're human beings and we function from a mind and we function from random, uncontrollable emotions, because that's how people function. They think they are not in complete understanding of their emotional body and how it functions, right? They're not a complete understanding of their mind and what it's there for. So this person that's calling to you at the top of the hill that you're trying to clamber back to is only a representation of the consciousness of source, right? And to get back to being at that level of consciousness means instead of clambering towards that person, you have to go, it's inside of yourself, right? And you have to be the representation here of the fleur-de-lis. And you have to go towards your mind and your emotions and start to become at one with them. So at one is oneness, right? Oneness is what source is. And you coming into at oneness with your own mind and emotions is what the twin flame process is. So that means that you basically, you could say you understand yourself and your emotions, there is that, but you also understand your mind and you understand what it's there for. And this process, twin flame process that you're going through, is it's an organic, energetic experience. So it isn't something that you have like certain free will and you have certain controls over it, but not completely, because it's the organic energetic experience of bringing you into alignment of source, right? So that person will stay at a distance and you will not have them back. No matter how many times you try to clamber up that hill, you're going to fall down again, because every time you fall down, it's about self-reflection. It's about observing fear, and it's about coming into a better place emotionally, and therefore becoming the representation of source inside yourself. So that's why we say it's a letting go of that person, right? And then you're letting go of whatever you think about that person. You're also deleting the programming that they're bringing you from the mind, that you're deleting for the actual, for you, well, it could say for the evolution of humanity. And you are coming into a better feeling place and a feeling good place. This, when you come into this representation of source through this activity that goes on, which, like I say, it's organic energetic experience. So you're going to go through that. No matter how many times you try to make it about the physical person, you will be brought back to focus on self, right? Because where you are meant to go to, where your guides want you to go to, where the Pleiadians want us all to go to on this journey, is to the place inside ourselves that is our point of attraction. So what's really being taught here through the twin flame experience, as brought to us by the Pleiadians, is the experience of becoming the point of attraction to everything that you want. It is the visceral, energetic experience of the law of attraction and how it works coming in through your life, right? And your whole life experience being about that. So not only is separation completely necessary, it's not what people think it is, right? It is not about the other person. That other person is merely it's kind of an illusory article that is just trying to bring you into alignment with your source energy, your point of attraction. So not to say, right, we're always going to talk about reunion. They've told me, right, my channel's going to change now, and my work's going to change a lot. And this is kind of like, this video is really a final video that I'm putting out. There will be more videos, but this is a final one of where I've got to in my understanding of this process, because all the time I've gone through this process, they've told me what it's about, and they've made me put work out there, and they've made me do readings with people and help people. And where I've reached just recently, in fact 2 days ago, is an understanding that I've never come to before, and it's also a point of attraction that I've never got to before. So this is just a final, I feel like a clarifying video that I'm putting out of where I've got to in this process, and then it all starts again in some way. So, and there's a lot of people that have been on this journey with me, watching me for a very long time as well, and they all need this information, because this is the last piece of information for them as well, maybe just this clarity, and then they can all let go of me, and whatever's going to happen there will happen for them after that. And new people will come to me to be taught from a level that I've never taught from before, and what my understanding is now of all of this, right? So that's kind of what this video is about and why I'm doing it. And then where we were in terms of understanding this process, where did I leave off? Right. So basically it's all about return to self, right? In many different ways. I mean, there's so much more to the experience that you're going to come across, that you might have already come across. You know, there's setting boundaries, there's using ego to set boundaries with people, so that you're not harmed by people. There is that happens, but then once that's set, then you automatically have boundaries, and people read that in your energy rather than having to be told to, like, to not go beyond a boundary, because they're just going to. But before that happens, you're going to probably have to set a lot of boundaries with people. So there's that as well. There's so much more. But this is the energetic kind of what it is. And then we've got this emotional feeling good. So I'm just going to explain to you what I experienced the other day, because that's really where it's got to with me. And yes, okay. So basically, as you know, probably you know through this process that you go through a lot of breaking down of the ego. So we call it the purge cycle. And what happens is you drop down into lower consciousness, into the masculine consciousness of ego, and you start to challenge yourself from that standpoint. So you'll be in a lot of fear and a lot of worry. Could be a lot of arguing inside yourself, a lot of resentment, a lot of negativity coming up, a lot of not wanting to like go through this anymore, all that kind of stuff. It'll come upon you certain times. I've noticed it's a monthly cycle, and it's sometimes going to be about this person. It's sometimes not going to. Even once this is kind of clarified, this understanding, you're still going to go through this, right? This purging, this dropping down into lower consciousness, that's the ego. Hand in hand with that, you have feeling bad, right? When you're dropping down into ego, feeling bad for whatever, in whatever way, and it's not always a feeling about another person. It can be a feeling about your life. It can be a feeling about the past. It can be a feeling about your future. In whatever way, there's a feeling bad that comes upon you through this purging of the ego in your own physical experience. This is all during separation, right, from this person over here, physical separation. And what that is that organic, energetic letting go. So actually in the feeling bad and the negativity of the ego, that's clearing all that is in opposition to feeling good. So as you come out of that purging, you rise up into a higher frequency. So when you rise up into the higher frequency, not only do you rise up into the higher frequency, but the person that's outside of yourself also rises up into a higher frequency, because you're connected vibrationally through that frequency. And that is the work of the purge as well. So you drop down into lower consciousness, you start to clear that out, then you come back up, and as you come back up, so do they. So that's that, right? So what happened to me a couple of days ago is that as I've gone through this process, and it's been 14 years of separation without any true guidance apart from my guides. So I've had to learn it through myself, really, every step of the way, through what happens next with me, that takes me to a different understanding and a new understanding and a more clarified understanding and a vibrational understanding, because I'm feeling it inside of myself. So it's not a thinking, egoic thing, it's a feeling thing that I'm understanding it through my rising consciousness and through the expansion of my higher self inside of myself. So as I rise in consciousness, I'm gaining more and more and more, not ability, because I'm not trying, but just more of my higher consciousness. So it's like I'm expanding into just higher consciousness, and I'm dropping the egoic consciousness more and more and more. So I'm not rising to the bait, for example, because there's always fear out there trying to like trigger us into rising to the bait of being in lower consciousness, which would be moaning and complaining and not liking things, right? So less and less of that, more just like letting go of everything around me that would make me feel bad and being in a feeling good state. So, so that's how it's turned out over the 14 years, right, of the process. The actual, and you're born into the process, but the energetic process as it kicked off when we went into physical separation is, and how it's proceeded from there, right? So as I was sitting down the other night, actually it was a night before that, and I watched a documentary on Elvis, and it was very led me to complete understanding of a kind of his life. And I just had a huge empathic understanding, and it was really sad. Like I felt with this sadness. And then the night after that, I was watching TV again. I was just relaxing, had a bottle of wine, and suddenly I dropped right down again, right down lower consciousness, and it was the Elvis thing that triggered it off. So I'd just had a few thoughts about him, and straight away it was like, it's just like opening a door and walking through it into like where everything was really negative again and feeling really, really bad. And from there, thank you, Elvis, for getting me through that door. I was then in, again, my childhood with my father and my mother. So in my childhood, until I was 10 years old, I had my mother and my father around, and then my mother died. Before I was 10 years old, I was the last of 4 children, and they were all born a long time before me. So I was little and they were all pretty much grown up. And my dad doted on me and loved me a lot, and it was all great. And then my mother died, and as soon as she died, my dad changed and he became really abusive. So I went from what was a really light experience to a really dark experience. And for a long time, I would say for the past 14 years, I'm coming into the twin flame energetic, understanding being taught to understand this experience. I've teeter-tottered between the hate that I felt for him because of that, and the love that I feel because it's just better to feel love, and because I did love him and I knew he loved me, right? So when I dropped down the other night, it was dropping back down again into that, and just flicking through visuals of memories and coming to a better place inside myself. Not because I wanted to or was trying to. It was like I was watching the screen of a movie or something and just seeing all these pictures of me as a child and with my parents. And I let go completely of anything anymore that was obstructing me from just feeling love. And as that happened, all the bad stuff disappeared. So all the negative stuff that had come after. So I had like 10 years of really good, and then I had another 10 of bad. And that was around then my father died, and died as well. So I had 10 years of each, half and half, good and bad. And what happened was I sat there and I just let go, wasn't trying, like I said, of all of it again. I cried loads, buckets, and then went to bed, woke up in the morning, and I was feeling really, really like awful. And I felt awful because I cried, and I felt awful because I didn't. The crying feels like you're being bashed around, you know that probably, like you're being flung around and having a physical fight. It's so visceral, right? This twin flame experience, you feel it so much in your physical body. And I was woke up and I was like, oh no, not again. I've done it again. And I don't like it. I like the feeling good because primarily I'm feeling good and I'm in higher consciousness. It's great. But then I have to drop back down again to clear out this shit. So I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be here doing this anymore. Had a little bit of that. Got up, had some coffee. Felt a lot better, but it was a bit hungover. So I went back to bed. And I was just lying there. And what happened first of all was it's like I saw it and I felt it and I understood it. And it was, again, it's kind of like a higher consciousness understanding, but it's very coming through the brain because my brain is pretty much clarified now of any lower consciousness. So I was just like, I not even said it to myself, but it was just like I realised I couldn't even remember the dark half of that experience. I could only remember the light half from before my mother died and what my father was like then, and how much love I felt for my father, and that I still do. So it kind of cleared the dark part of the experience. At the same time, I was dabbling because I have been at a distance from my twin for a very long time physically, but I've also understood that it's not the letting go physically, it's the letting go of the thinking about him, and it's the letting go of feeling anything for him. So I've been doing that, partly organically because you will do, but partly also choosing to. So not going back to memories of him and not being in expectation of him. So at the same time this thing happened with my father, I also dabbled inside myself with like just going back to some memories of the one from outside of myself that I call my twin. And as I was doing that, I realised that I could be in those memories without feeling any pain anymore. So if you go through this experience, you'll know that this person brings you a lot of pain, or it appears that this person brings you a lot of pain, I should say, because what's really happening is that you're here to dissolve lower consciousness. So you're here to dissolve anything inside yourself that's negative, and or that is pain, right? So, and you can only do that if you feel it, right? So you have to be taken away from feeling good to get back to feeling good, because if you were in feeling good already, there would be no reason to get back to feeling good. So, so it's just the going from lower consciousness to higher consciousness thing. So I realised I could look at these memories again and not feel sad, and not really feel anything for him, but not in a way, people think that they don't feel sad when they're like saying, oh, I don't care about him anymore, I don't think I even like him, I don't, and there is a part of this journey where you will go into that and you'll be like, I don't like them anymore, I don't feel anything for them, I think I might even hate them, things like that. But that's not really what it is, because it's still not a let go, because you're still feeling something. And what happened was I was able to revisit the memories, and I was able to just smile. So as I dissolved the experience with my father, I'd also dissolved the experience with my twin to a certain extent, because now I am able to be, in a physical sense, in my present moment experience, feeling good no matter what, no matter anything that's happened ever. So I've completely dissolved my lower consciousness experience, the negativity, and completely in feeling good now. Like I say, I had that last drop down thanks to Elvis, and then and then come back up, right? So now when I've just dabbled with it a bit. I did that in the bed that morning, right, looking at memories of my twin, and all I can see is the good stuff that happened, and the bits where we were laughing together, and how good it felt to be around him, right, and his physical presence, because it always felt really good, because of course twins always feel really good when they're together, right, which is again, you're like clambering up that hill trying to get that physical person back because of how good it felt to be together. But I was just in the memories of it, and I was in the place where I felt really good that I'd even experienced that, even for a second, right? So the letting go, when you let go of all the negativity of this journey, is you're arriving at what is, you could say it's more of a logical place to be in terms of feeling good. It's more of a relinquishment of anything that would make you feel bad. It's more of it's like coming into your adult self, right? Because again, there's the father thing and the mother thing that I went through, and then the me thing, and coming into your adult self in relation to your past experiences, with your inner child intact. So the inner child is the part of you that wants to laugh and have fun and doesn't feel bad about doing that because it's freedom. And the adult part of yourself is the part of yourself that knows that that's the wisest place for you to be, right? So the adult part of yourself, when you are aligned with what is a wise adult part of yourself, is a part of yourself that looks back at the past experience of you and the one that was outside of yourself, that you're separated from, and says, that was just an amazing experience that I had with somebody. That was great. And I am so glad that I had that experience with that person, because some people never have that. And I was really lucky to have it. So when I look back on that person, I see their smile, I see the joy that we had, and that's great. But I'm not feeling sad about it, and I'm not feeling desperate about it, and I'm not feeling like I want it back or I don't want it back. And I was in bed and I was saying to myself, well, that's completely up to him now, because only he can be the one that comes back, if anybody comes back. And no matter how much I might have thought about him coming back or wanted him to come back, that's really out of my hands completely. And I just feel good all right here, right now anyway, whether he does or not. So, and then what happened, which was really extraordinary, right? So this is another story, right? So basically, when I started getting all the signs and the synchronicities and the voices and everything in my head telling me what to do and telling me all about this journey and what's all going on, there was a time when I would listen to psychics. I'd go to psychics about it because I wanted to understand what's going on, to try to understand through other psychics. And that's stopped now, and it stopped about 2 years ago, but for a while I did. And one of them said to me, "Have you heard of this place?" And she said, "It's going to be really important to both of you, me and him." The thing is, she'd already said a lot of things about me and him so I knew she was logged in, right, and that she knew who she was reading for, and she knew it was me because she knew stuff about him, and she knew stuff about him. I think she even got his name actually. And so when she said that, of course, that's a few years ago now. It's 2013 or 14. Part of my brain latches onto, okay, so if I get to that place, he's going to come back to me. So funnily enough, when I was guided to move, which was 2017, and I was looking at places to live in this country, this location actually turned out to be, that's my phone going off, never mind, one of the places. Let me just wait till Born to Be Wild is finished on my phone, which is my ringtone. Oh, it's not going to stop. Hang on a minute. Okay. There we go, that's better. Right, so, where was I? I just got that ringtone because it makes me laugh. Right. And because we're all born to be wild. So, what's it saying? Excuse my stomach. It's got to get back there. Oh, yes. So I started to look around the country for places to move to, and this did turn out to be the best place because it was in the right budget, and I meant I could have a garden. So whether or not I moved here because of what she said, or did I move here because it was in my budget and I could get a garden, I don't know. Maybe a bit of both, but I did anyway. Also because they said to me the name of a village which was really close to the place that she said, so it's the village that I've ended up being in. So they actually said that to me, not through another psychic. So I came here. And when I got here, of course, I thought immediately, he's coming back to me because this is where she said it'd be really important for both of you. But as I got here, my guide said to me, "You're here to let go." So then I had to figure out what it is I was meant to let go of, because I'd already let go of him. He'd gone physically, right? So you all know that. They go physically. But of course, it's not physically that you're meant to let go of someone. It's emotionally and mentally. So I proceeded organically and energetically to start to let go mentally and emotionally. And of course, the only way you can let go is by having it presented to you over and over and over again that you're not getting it. So that they're not coming back, which happened, right? And then the other thing was, though, before I moved here, I travelled around America and Canada. And, this is how you know it's twin flame, right? Because even that, when I was talking to a psychic, she said, you're going to travel all around North America. And there's a man and he's going to be going with you. So I presumed in the physical, right? But no, of course, because you pick up energetically and twin flames are entwined like that. So, of course, he was coming with me on the journey because your twin flame is inside you, it's part of you, is your consciousness, is your vibration, or she is inside of you. So they're always with you in that sense, which is why you feel them through your mind, emotions, and your vibration. So anyway, but she said all of that. And when I travelled around, I knew there was a place that I was going to live. And I hit upon it and I saw the keys in my hand, and I saw the name of the location on the back of the keychain that was in my hand and written in the sky. So I knew I was going to end up living there. And when I got here, I thought he's going to come back and we're going to go and live there, and everything will be great. And I don't really like this place that I live at. Um, on my really good days, I'm fine here, and it's just freedom, and it's lovely, and I appreciate the nature and the garden, etc., etc., etc. But when I'm dropping down, like I say, when I woke up in the morning that morning, and I was like, I really don't want to be here, because the lower conscious part of me that thought it was coming here for him physically has had to realise over and over again, actually, he's not coming here physically, is he? He's not, because he hasn't arrived, so he's not coming here. So I've had to let go of that. But also, I'm still at in this place, and my lower. When I'm at my worst moments, when I've been at my worst moments, I've been fighting with my guides inside my head, saying, "You told me that I wasn't going to be here forever, that we're going somewhere else, and I'm still here, and it's now 5 years here, nearly, and you lied to me." So what happened was, when I was lying in bed and all this like clarity came upon me of I'm actually fine on my own. And what I got with that clarity as well was not that I want another man that's going to represent whatever he represented. I'm just fine on my own. And as I got that clarity of being fine on my own, absolutely fine on my own, and letting go of him, I've let go of him in that moment. I felt that. I just let go. Right. And that is the thorough letting go that I didn't even know that that was possible, that letting go. Because what happened with the letting go is I just ended up feeling really good, but also at the same time, I got this amazing clarity of how I was getting to this other place. And I don't even know if that's how I'm getting to this other place, but how your guides talk to you is that it's anything is possible, right? And they just almost gave me, I would say, 3 different ways of getting to this other place. And it wasn't that they were telling me that I could get to this other place or how to get to this other place. It was the fact that they were telling me, that told me that I am going to get to that other place, that I will live in that other place, because otherwise they wouldn't have told me that in that way. So it's like I've reached the end of the process of letting go, but it's a letting go in the emotions, and it's a letting go in the mind, and it's the arrival at the feeling good. And since that, and so yeah, it's 2 days, but I'm feeling great, feeling really good. And also the clarity that it's not, you're not stuck, right, on this journey. You're not stuck. But the thing is not about coming back to this person from outside yourself. It's about coming back to yourself in your state of higher consciousness. And from there, you see, the thing is, with the clarity that they gave me about moving to this other place, is that it's the feeling good that gets you there, right? So, and what they've had me doing as well since Christmas is I had to stop watching TV for 2 years. So I let go of TV, and now I'm watching it again, but in a completely different way than I've ever watched it before. So it's literally just like blinking my eyes at the screen, at the good things that I want. Because every time you flash your eyes, it's like taking a picture and putting it into a vibration of what you want. So it's as simple as that, right? And then the feeling good brings you it. So I'm clicking the switch on my eyes at pictures of houses and locations and holidays and all the good stuff that you can access through things like that. Interiors of houses I'm looking at a lot, actually. So I love that stuff anyway. And I'm going to have a new house at some point. So so that is where I'm at with the process. And that is what my understanding, how it stands at the moment, is that we always talked about the return to self, right? And the return to self is you intact with your emotions and your mind. So, and the reason I've been able to go back to watching TV is that I'm no longer suckered in by any of the negativity, apart from obviously Elvis. But that was necessary. So not on just a general daily basis, only as necessary to produce the desired result vibrationally. So that's what that's about. Then just to say as well that this absolute let's go that's happened emotionally and mentally, that the process is about, is are we gonna say that it concludes with the return of the physical representation of your frequency? Well, I can't say. I don't want to say that, because there's no letting go in that. But I will tell you a story about that as well. So instead of, so this is going back to 2006 and living in New York City where I lived and my twin lived. And we had been on off for 6 years, having this trigger, re-trigger scenario involving all the good stuff as well, right? All the romance and the sex and the love and the physical stuff. And then I couldn't handle it anymore. So I left New York for a few months and I went traveling around Europe. And then I got back and I tried to get in touch with him. So I guess we kind of broke up as I went away. I had to run away from him because it was doing me in. And then I got back and I tried to find him. So I was trying to call him. His phone was dead. I was asking around for him, looking for him. We didn't have any mutual friends, but I knew where he went drinking, that kind of stuff. So I was looking for him and I couldn't find him. And it must have been about 5 months that I was looking for him. I couldn't find him anywhere. I didn't know where he'd gone or anything. And then it was New Year's Eve. And I'd been like trying to crawl up that hill, right, to find him, find his physical self. And New Year's Eve, and I was stood outside a bar that I knew he if he was drinking anywhere, it would be that bar. And stood outside there, and there was crowds outside. It was appearing to be impossible to get in. It was freezing cold, New York City, New Year's Eve, freezing cold. And I was with my friend, and I just turned around and I said, no, this is it. I'm done. I'm done. We're not doing this. I'm not doing it to myself. I'm not doing it to you. It's over. And I just felt at that moment a complete let go of him as well. It's like, nah, life's too short. So I did let go back then, right, in 2006. And about 3 months after that, I'd already arranged to leave New York and go and live somewhere else because I was done. And I was walking down the street and there he was. And he appeared right back in front of me after I'd let go. So does that mean they come back? Well, I've only got that experience to go by of a physical person then remanifesting once you completely let go. So I don't know. I don't know if that happens just the once. Is it going to happen again? I'm not going to even go there with that because I'm fine actually on my own. And I know now that I'm going to be allowed to move on from this place. But the other thing to say as well is that after that letting go, right, and I did move away because it still didn't go right, because even though we did come back together after bumping into each other, it was still a lot of triggering and bullshit. Even though, you know, they desperately wanted to be with him and it couldn't be. And then I did move away. I moved back to England, and not long after I'd moved back to England was the start, I would guess, the start of me experiencing what is out of body experience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, and all that kind of stuff. And I was lying on the sofa looking at the ceiling, and suddenly this voice that erupted from my stomach and travelled up to my head and then just burst into my head said, "He loves you." So that's when I went back for him, and that's when we came together again, and that's when he said he loved me. And then of course it all got triggered again, and then we went into a final full separation in 2006. So it appears that as the you see the voice is the vibration, right, that's trying to bring you back together. So your experiences that are psychic on this journey, that's what that's about. It's trying to bring you back together. But it's not about, you've got to be at the right level of consciousness to come back together, because even though we tried to come back together and we were going to start a life together, we still were triggered back into separation because of the level of consciousness we were at. We were not at higher consciousness. We were in ego, and it ended up in a shouting argument, and me saying some nasty things and him saying some nasty things, and then complete separation from 2006. So that physical separation that's been from 2006, that 14 years, like I said right at the beginning of this, has not been about getting him back physically. It's been about coming into higher consciousness, Is the higher consciousness is the frequency of reunion. You see, I can only talk about one step at a time. As far as I know right now, it's not shown up physically, so I don't know. Is it going to? I don't know until it shows up. And like I said, when I'm lying in bed and I'm coming to terms with everything in a much more beneficial way to my feeling good, the answer that I have is, only he knows that. And that's out of my hands. And do you know what? It's such a brilliant place to be. That is what not caring really is. That's what let go is. It's not my deal, right? It's not down to me. So hey ho, I'm free. I'm free to just feel good, and I do feel good, and that's where it's ended up. So that's for everyone that's been listening to me for years. And that I did a reading for someone the other day, and they were told, actually she's not the first, there's been a couple lately, a couple before Christmas, that they have to let go of me. So anybody that's been listening to me for years that hasn't let go, that's maybe had readings from me, that's been wanting to know the same as me, right? When do they come back? Are they coming back? Is it now? And some of those people, they've been the same as me, because every time they told me he's coming back, they've also told those people they're coming back. So, but they can't come back until we let go, which means you let go of me as well. And then maybe one day you come back to say hello, but a lot of you got to let go of me now. And then this will be this channel will be for new people that come along that need to have the understanding. And that's that. All right. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. And I hope that helps people out there. And let go. And then if anything else happens, I'll do a mail out. That's what I'll do. So you can stop watching me, because you won't miss anything. Because I promise I'll do a mail out, and anyone that's ever come to me for a reading or is on my mail out list will get that email with if the next big thing happens, right? So, and if you haven't given me your email, there's even on my website, you can click on there to follow my blog. So that might be how I'll do it, actually, because you can click on that website that I've got and follow my blog. And if you do that, what I'll do is I'll post it up on the blog, so you'll get that. But you won't have to come and watch videos and stuff like that. Okay, that's it. Lots of love. Take care. Bye.